As we all know, 2020 was not a good year by any stretch of the imagination. From a global pandemic to riots and protests, among many other disasters. But one positive effect it had was mental health awareness being taken more seriously when it has often been overlooked or ignored. This is Rebecca Walsh. She is the Director of Fundraising and Volunteering at Columbus Regional Hospital. And this is Ronald Shadley. He is an Amazon factory worker and service representative at a pet crematory. Throughout their respective lives, they each have had many different mental health experiences.
So my grandfather killed himself when I was about 9. It was 3 days after my aunt's wedding, so it was very traumatic for my aunt and her newly wedded husband. It was very hard on my mother, very hard on my grandmother, so that was very challenging. I also had some mental health issues with the birth of my twins, because that was also very dramatic. I had an emergency C-section. Postpartum with my oldest son, that was very challenging. I had preeclampsia. He was born 5 weeks early. I went into labor 7 weeks early. My mother is going to be 85, and she's had cognitive decline with the pandemic because she's not getting any socialization. So we're trying to get her physical well-being up to speed so that she can maybe start to get out more. So that's been a lot of challenges.
Ever since 2017, I was living with my grandmother. She was very ill, hard time breathing. She had pneumonia really bad. And in 2019, February 21st, 2019 specifically, she passed away in hospice. I promised my grandmother, ever since I moved in, that was to take care of her till her final day. And I fulfilled that, yeah. With my first little dog, Babs, God bless her, she's a sweetheart. When she passed away, it hurt like hell. I'm not gonna lie. But I didn't really feel anything until after Grandma passed away.
With the mental health crisis in America being an epidemic of its own, when the COVID-19 pandemic came along, it added fuel to an already raging fire by altering the daily lives of many people, including Rebecca and Ronald.
Working for a health system, there was a time when I was remote for several weeks, and every day we'd have a call and a meeting on WebEx where we were talking about deaths or talking about how many people were sick or in the hospital. So many of the people I work with, so many people that I'm close with at the hospital are right there on the front lines dealing with people who are dying. So that's pretty crazy. That's deep.
At the time, I was working at a Walmart down the road, and they did put in the mask rule, which I worked in death industry for a long time, so I'm used to wearing masks. It's not the viral aspect of it, like COVID as a virus. It was more of the political aspect of it. And the person I was in a relationship with had this major issue with me not wanting to hang out with them because I wanted to keep my parents and I safe. And I wanted to protect the people I loved by not going out and being social as much as I can until a vaccine came out.
Going through any mental health challenge can be hard enough, but it can be even harder if you don't have ways to cope. As Rebecca and Ronald have endured their issues, they luckily have had ways of coping.
Well, I really like dogs. I have a dog sitting next to me right now, and I find that dogs are very comforting for me. We've always had multiple dogs, and so I find that comforting. Playing games on my phone, calling people, texting people. I do like to read. I also talked to my dad a lot when he was alive. He was a source of someone that I could turn to, somebody I could ask questions about or work through situations with, and he was very open and willing to listen. But just finding a way to spend time with people safely has been key as well. 4 kids and 3 dogs living in a house. It was kind of hard to be isolated because everybody was here. So that kind of helps me cope with the mental health challenges that I've felt in the past.
At first, I didn't really know how to cope. But here recently, I've been a lot more active on video games. I play a couple called Destiny 2, Team Fortress. It's the little things that get me by. And I also enjoy playing with my girl dog, Zoe. She's a sweetheart. She's a baby.
Although Rebecca and Ronald had their own ways of coping, there are many people out there who constantly struggle finding ways to cope with their issues. Here is some of their advice for those who are struggling with coping.
I think you need to find something that sparks your interest, and only you know what that is. If it's reading, if it's walking, riding a bike, doing a group exercise, that will help. I have a regular routine of exercise, and that makes me feel so much better when I'm done. I love to do Pure Barre. I do have type 2 diabetes, and Pure Barre helps me to keep my A1C at a really good level. And I feel like having that socialization, going to class and struggling through a 50-minute class with people who are in the same boat as I am, it doesn't matter whether you're super athletic or not athletic, everybody gets a good workout in Pure Barre. I also think finding a group of like-minded individuals. If you feel like there's a certain part of your life that is making you struggle, then finding other people who share that struggle makes you feel less alone and less isolated.
One of the things that I do, I have it on my computer downstairs, is on one day each month, I write a journal, basically talking to myself the month before, saying, hey, here's where I'm at, here's what I'm doing, and then if I wanted to send a message to my future self, I type that down as well. And I've noticed through my journal that my mental health has slowly, albeit increased, into a better spot.